Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Sweet Combat Season 1, Episode 31. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. It's actually a really heartbreaking episode because Queen kind of gets hit from every angle. It's just blow after blow after blow. We'll talk about that later on, but first and foremost, picking up where the last episode left off, obviously Guanyan and Yanan are now like officially dating and holding hands, and I'm like, dude! Once again, Guanyan continued to proving to be the Casanova that he is, but it's also like it's always so neat when you get to see Yanan's cute side, like especially because like she can't hide it around Guanyan. So later on, I love that she's going on like to their movie date, and I think it's so cute that you get to see her in a dress. Like, because I said that I've talked about it before when she showed up in a dress when it came to her going to see Guanyan like back when he was having to like clean up the school and stuff like that. But the fact is she gets to wear a dress again because like I talked about it at the time, like in the webtoon there's only a few occasions where you got to see Mu Young wear a dress. One of those occasions was like she goes on a walk with Gongok. So that was like one of the only other times you saw her wearing a dress, like I've talked about previously, other than like the very few times you'll see her in her school uniform, yada yada, so on and so forth. But it's like what makes it even more beautiful is the fact is that Queen's the one that hooked her up with the clothes, because it's like, right here, you wearing this will allow you to feel pretty, and it'll just kind of bring out like the inner girl we both have, because that's been something amongst the trio. Being cute and very girly has always come easy to Zhao Mi than it did the other two. Obviously, like, Yu's kind of found her way, but even then, it's like, it's still something she struggles with. Obviously, she has associated trauma with it, but also it doesn't come easy to Yanan either, so she's kind of feeling weird about, like, because it's like, basically, Kun was like, yeah, the moment you lock eyes with him, and then you'll kind of feel it, because you'll be able to see him the way he sees you, and especially in this moment. So she actually got to the date early, and she's sitting there, and when Guanyan shows up, he sees her wearing the heels and the dress and everything. It's like, oh, she's kind of gotten like, really dolled up and everything. And he's like, he tells her like she looks pretty. She's like, really? He's like, yeah, let's go get their tickets. And while they're about to get their tickets, her purse gets stolen. Guanyan goes after the dude, and Yanan's like, oh, I'm getting you, takes off the heels, running after him. It's like, oh, you wait till I catch up to you. And then ultimately, I love that, like, we cut to the school, and the director and the president are talking, and it's like, yeah, Yanan helped capture a thief. It's like, yeah, apparently he has stolen her purse, and the director, the president, spits out his drink, being like, what? Is he okay? Is he in critical condition? It's like, luckily Yanan was on a date, so she was very merciful to the thief, and it's like, okay, good. Oh god, they're so worried about like the ladies from their school going buck wild, and especially Yanan not being able to hold back. So that's kind of neat. I almost wonder if that's supposed to be a wink and nod to the end of the webtoon. Spoilers: the webtoon ends with that very situation. It's like, I'm curious to see if they'll do it. So this might be a spoiler for like the end of this TV show, but at the very least, that's how the webtoon actually ends. Like Jaegu and Queen are about to kiss, and someone steals, I think, her bag or something, and she chases after the thief. That's like the last few panels of the webtoon. There's like her chasing after him. So I think that's so interesting. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a wink and nod towards that, because we're not going to get it, but I think that is kind of neat. So like I said, that's what I'm referring. I'm not, unless they do it later on too at the very end, but it almost feels like it could be a wink and nod to that to some extent. So, but I mean, obviously, other elements to this episode, as I brought up, was the whole Queen situation. First and foremost, she puts Shiwei on blast. He's like thinking like, oh, we're on this day. She's like, yeah, I'm only here because you kept pestering my grandfather about it, so I'm here. And so I don't know if the first guy that showed up was someone Shiwei had set up to, like, because like there were two reporters or photographers showing up. I was like, because in that moment when like the first photographer shows up, I'm like, oh, are they kind of slightly doing that storyline? But turns out they didn't. Basically, that storyline of like a photo of her getting taken is kind of a little bit of an arc. Not even a little. It's a decent sized arc in the webtoon, because basically a photo of Queen gets taken without her permission. It was basically like Jonathan hired a photographer to do it, and he was basically holding this picture over Queen's head, and it leads to a whole like kind of pseudo tournament fight thing between people. So that's where I'm like, so Shiwei's character is a little suitor fiance character from the webtoon, but also Jonathan, who was pseudo the fiance suitor character's friend or whatever, you know. Once again, you know, it's interesting, like, both were douchey characters that got put together in one douchey character in the live action. I think, once again, I think that's an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, basically she brought, I think the first person was hired by Shiwei, but the second person was someone that you hired to kind of like handle this, and she like placed the audio of what he was saying, and he's like, no, like it's not like that, it's a misunderstanding, and you just like Yu's not having that, so she's like just throws water in his face. It's like, right, what you say basically can come back to haunt you, and it did. So ultimately her brother placed the video and like audio for their grandfather, so that when Shiwei's dad calls, he's like, yeah, we can cancel dinner, like the dinner we were going to have together. Actually, let's cancel the dealings between our two companies. When Shiwei's dad was not happy, he slapped his son, being like, right, all you had to do was get a girl, and now not only have you screwed that up, now our name's getting run through the mud publicly. And I figured that, I thought that would be the end result. It's like, hey, if you put this out here publicly, it would destroy their reputation. And now there's a massive business deal that's kaput because of him. So now you're like, oh, Shiwei's not done yet. He's definitely going to take this out on Tien. He'll probably try, like, I mean, there's not much he can do against the Fong family, but he can probably like get to her by going after Tien, because regardless of where they are, he still knows. He's going to probably blame that on Tien, which Tien had nothing to do with that. That was all Zhao. Like, Tien is still, I don't even know if he's seen those videos circulating at this point in time. Like, it never comes up during the episode whether or not he's seen that or is even aware of that. So, but we know he had nothing to do with that. He wasn't even aware there was a camera recording all that. So, but it was interesting too, because there was there was a text message on his phone that was saying like, the person was like, ready, and he's like, yes. My initial thought, I should also let you know, was I thought that was him sending people after Tien. I thought that's what that was, but it was like, no, it was about the photographer showing up so he can create the spectacle of like, oh, we're together. But it's like, yeah, that immediately got shut down, so that's kind of not a concern. And now, like, that whole thing is off. So, I think that's the element of, well, first and foremost, it's hard to say how their grandfather took that situation. Either it's like I can't do business with someone that talks about my granddaughter like that, yada, yada, yada. Like, once again, he does care. It's just he doesn't always go about it. But it's like, yeah, if you're going to be like that about my granddaughter, I thought maybe you could at least genuinely care about her. But just to see, like, you don't, and, you know, it's just money to you. Yeah. Like, I might be pragmatic, but I'm not that cold-hearted, which is like, you actually are, considering all that you've done these past episodes. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what really went through his mind. Was it just because, like, right, I'm not going to let you be with a douchebag like that? Or is it just because, like, you were kind of forced into that situation because of the public reception of, if they stay together, it's going to make you look bad too, because you're like, why are they still, you know, I don't know. I'd like to believe and hope that it's because it's like, right, like, I'm not going to let such a despicable person near my granddaughter, which, once again, you did everything you could to break her up with a person that actually legitimately cares for her, would do anything for her, would never ask her to change, wants her to stay exactly who she is, versus the dude you're pushing her towards who wants her to change, who wants to basically break her of who she, because, once again, it's a point I brought up in a previous review, he's also the same way. Just like Shiwei wants her to change, her grandfather wants her to change too. And I think it's just so interesting that he's blind to, like, yeah, how Shiwei treats you is a lot like how you do. And I think you're just blind to, like, the parallels between the two of you. So it was kind of a pseudo victory in that regard. But some other issues that Yu has to deal with now is Wuji. Wuji won't let it go. He keeps coming after her, trying to challenge her, but she wants nothing to do with him. He like jumps out in front of her car, and it's like, because my concern was like, oh my god, is he going to go after Tien just to like provoke her? But it's like, well, to be fair, they're not dating anymore, so he probably thinks like, well, that won't be enough motivation. What he did do though is he went after her brother, but her brother had a taser ready, was like, yo, I really want to see what you're capable of. So other security came and he ran away. So he was using an analogy later on when he was talking to you that as long as she wears the crown, people are always going to come after her and challenge her. So Yu does what she believes is the best thing to do. She retires as queen. She's like, as long as I'm giving up MMA entirely. Like, she'd already kind of given it up to some extent, but like, as long as she was still queen, that was always going to be something that tied her to MMA. And so it's like, right, this way, no one's bothering me anymore. Like, this is, once again, her grandfather finally got everything he wanted. Her and Tien are no longer together. She's giving up MMA entirely, and the fact is she's falling in line with what you want her to do with her life. So it's like, you won the trifecta. Hope you're happy, which I don't know if he really is or not. Or, he kind of is, I'm sure, but still. But the sad thing is, by doing this, she upsets so many people because, Tien's like, wow, I would have never expected her to do that. The director and the president are upset by it, and Zhao Mi in particular is like, how could she do that? And the person that's disappointed in her the most is her brother. Because he's like, the fact is, he's always been so proud of his sister because of her her conviction has always been, like, she's always been so steadfast in her conviction of how important MMA is to her. And now it's like, here you are just tossing it away. He's like, I wasn't telling you to actually literally do what you did. I was just using it as an analogy. I wasn't telling you to give up something that you care so dear. But it's like, right, if you're going to be like that, I've got no room in my heart for someone like you. So now it's caused her relationship with her brother. Because you can tell, like, when she made the decision to study abroad, it upset her brother, but it seemed like maybe they were okay. He was just kind of accepting her decision. It's like, it is what it is. But now it's like, now you've like pushed it too far, and I'm like, no. Then she gets it from Zhao Mi, who's so disappointed in her. How can you do that? Like, abandon everything? And it's like, just because you and Tien broke up, and she's like, you should be with Tien. It's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, like, I give you Tien, like, it, and it's like, no. If you like, Tien isn't some like pet or anything you could just pawn off on someone else. It's like, if you were really going to do this from the beginning, shouldn't you have never gotten in a mix of like interrupting what could have been me and him having a relationship? She's like, I didn't intend for this to happen, but as long as he has a friend like you by his side, then it's all okay. And it's just like, no, she's like, it's for Zhao Mi, it's like, fine, I'll be that close friend. I'll be his closest friend because, like, I will never do to him what you're doing right now. Because, she's like, the fact is you would turn your back on a friend, like, turn your back on someone you care about. That, I've never been more disappointed in you than I am right now, Queen, and walks away. It's just like, it's once again, it's blow after blow. Because I'm also skipping the fact is she had to say goodbye to the kids at the Taekwondo class. Like, she had to say goodbye to them. And obviously Tien's siblings, like, the sister wanted to go hug her and say goodbye, but the brother was like, no, let's not. It's like, for one, she broke up with Tien. I'm not going to miss her or whatever, but like, the sister's like, no, you will. Like, you're angry right now. And then Queen showed up at their house and she takes them out for barbecue pork over rice. And I didn't even think about it until they brought it up of like, oh man, that is traumatic. The last time they had this meal was the last time with their mom. That's, once again, they specifically told Queen this story of, yeah, that's why they don't get it that much anymore, because their brother doesn't want a meal he associates the day that mom left. And now it's like, cool, not only do we have to associate this meal with our mom leaving, we also have to associate it with Queen leaving. And it's like, she didn't really think about it in that moment. Like, she was just trying to do something nice with them because she really cares for them, but she didn't think about, like, right, I didn't think about like how much pain this would put you through. But she's like, don't worry, my brother, he's going to like give you this anytime you ever want it. You just ask him. And if there's anything that you're dealing with that you can't tell your brother about, you can tell my brother about it, and he'll look after you in my stead. And it's just because she wants to make sure they're okay, because it's like she had to say her proper goodbyes to them. Because that's the sad thing. She hasn't really had her opportunity until the end of the episode, which we'll get to later, but she never really had an opportunity to give a proper, like, the only person she hasn't been able to give a proper goodbye to was Tien. So she wants to she's giving one to everyone else that means the world to her, Obviously, her and Zhao Mi are ending off on sour terms because, like I said, it's just one thing after another. And ultimately, it was like Tien's brother being like, no, please just don't go. It's like, because you made a promise to us. And she's like, I can't keep that promise. Like, well, fine. Well, here's this scrapbook. It's like, this was us making a scoreboard to see like who would be better for her brother. And initially, you had already won because you were dating Tien, but we put Zhao Mi back into the running since your breakup, and we're giving her all the points. It's like, we can start a new one, and we could, like, you know, give you more points, so just, like, please just don't go. And she's like, I can't make that promise, you know? And it's just like, right, let's just kind of, like, try to be happy when this last meal, you know, and kind of smile and be happy. And it's just heartbreaking on both sides. You're just like, oh, it's like, especially because her brother was trying to, the little brother was trying so hard to be like, I don't care about Queen, but it's like, because he cares the most, like, he's going to miss her the most. And it's just, it's sad that things come down to this. It's like, she doesn't know when she'll ever be back, you know? That's why she's making that, like, she made that clear to so many people. And obviously, Zhao Mi is with Hao, and she's talking about how, once again, how disappointed in Queen she is. And even Hao's like, you know, it's like, well, you know, Queen's a goddess and whatnot, and, you know, her words are kind of hard to understand. And it's like, who's a goddess? It's like, never mind. But it's like, you don't actually hate Queen. And she's like, no, I don't. I dislike her, but I never hated her. But it's like, yeah, like, she misses, like, their back and forth. It's like, messing with Queen is different from messing with Yanan. Like, pushing Yanan's buttons is easy, but it's like, Queen, it's like, yeah, that's the challenge. Like, getting under her skin and messing with her. It's like, you know, it's like, two is company, three is a party, I think is what she said. And even Hao's like, yeah, we'll get extremely quiet without the two of you bickering. Life is gonna be pretty boring here without her, because Zhao Mi, like, you know, acknowledges their friendship, and it's just like, you never really got a lot of that during the webtoon. Like, they are friends, but it never was a moment of like, yeah, some form of acknowledgement like it is in this. It's like, it's a very love-hate relationship. She'll never admit that, like, no, you actually are friends. You might have been love rivals at one point in time, but she is legitimately your friend. And both of them kind of sighing at the notion of Queen leaving. And that, like, kind of cute moment of her chasing him around and being like, oh, my arm hurts. And then she uses an opportunity to hit him. It's like, yeah, that seems like that's slowly progressing to the two of them. Because, like, Zhao Mi in the past would have jumped at the opportunity, like, oh, Tien, but she's not jumping at it. Because, like, she finally, I think, has settled her feelings. But it's also like, I'm not, like, he's, like, I will be a friend to Tien. It isn't a thing of, like, because the reason why she said that in particular was because of the scoreboard thing from Tien's siblings, I think, gave her that idea. But like I said, it was one thing after another, blow after blow when it came to that. And then there's also the situation with her and Yanan, which was, you know, them kind of drinking together and her wanting to kind of get drunk. And it's like, right, how long before you leave? And it's like, I'm leaving as soon as the paperwork's done. And it's like, oh, it's going to be that soon. And even while she's trying to chug these beers and stuff, or the alcohol, and she's just like trying to like numb herself to some extent, and you just see her like tearing up. But Yanan's like, no, it's going to be okay. Like, while you're like, we're not breaking up. Like, the fact is that while we're here, this is a happy time. But it's just like, she's doing everything she can just not to fight back the tears. And they're both singing together. And it's like, oh, besties, dude. That's so, once again, it's just so heartbreaking. Like, it's those moments when she's like so, like I said, we've never seen her this vulnerable like so many times back to back. And so you add in, like, she gets back home, she's in her room and she's staring at the bunny Tien had got for her in Macau. And it's just the whole circumstance of, at the end of the day, my thoughts are like my problems are washed away right now because drinking made me forget about stuff. But it's also like, yeah, but the problem is I'm also forgetting what troubled me so much. And staring at the bunny, even saying like, I'm gonna have to leave you, I can't take you with me, because if you're with me, I'm just gonna be reminded of all the time. It'll just bring back all these memories of the time we were together, and I at a time where I need to be forgetting that stuff. And like a sign from the universe, Tien calls her and wants to meet up with her, and they meet at the ice cream shop. He was like, this is the first time I ever saw you smile, is when you ordered that strawberry ice cream. And it's like, right, I saw you, I was in the bunny suit, and you didn't know who I was. It was me there at the time, but eventually you found out. And basically he's talking about the fact is that, yes, the very fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, my dad killed your Uncle G, and that's just something I can never change. And so it's basically him kind of wishing her well, and her just, it's that conversation of, I'd rather you hate me. Like, aren't you angry at me? He's like, how could I? But she's like, it would make it easier if you hated me. But the fact is, you're still you towards me. Like, the fact is, like, Tien is still acting like himself towards her. It makes it that much harder to do this. And I was wondering, like, she still is holding it all in because she also doesn't want to, like, because she wants to be with him, but it's also with everything she knows. It's like, how do I do that? You know, and then also, like, I would have been, and I also can't tell you anything, so she's like doubly holding stuff in. So it's just like, once again, she wants to protect him because she still does care about him. And he's like, right, when you're abroad, I wish you well. But he's like, right, once again, why am I telling you this? You've been abroad multiple times. You don't need me to tell you to be well. You know, because for him, it's like, we might not be together anymore, but it's like, the time we had was beautiful, and that is something we should never regret. Which I'm like, that's a lesson. I've talked about this kind of recently in a video where I talked about, like, right, like, I was like that with a relationship where, like, I just focus on the negative stuff in the aftermath of it, but I'm like never focusing on, like, yeah, there was good in it too, like that it was a beautiful thing, and I do not regret being in that relationship. It's something I didn't learn until, like, much later in life is what I talked about. So it's just it's interesting to kind of, like, see that, you know. Especially, obviously, like, Yanan and her were just talking about it last episode, and kind of, not last episode, but like 2 scenes beforehand, talking about how her first relationship kind of ended up in a situation. But, like, just as, like, Tien was kind of trying to leave to go, she, like, grabs his hand and holds on tight, almost like, don't go, like, I want you to just a little bit longer. I want to sit here and stay just in this moment, like, just to make this moment last as long as it can, you know. And it's kind of where the episode ends, which is so heartbreaking, you know? It's just sad that, like, once again, just so much stuff that's out of their own control is being thrust upon them. And once again, this, like, whole situation being contorted into what it is, you know? Because it doesn't change the fact, like, the real facts of everything do change the circumstances around the thing that's bonding them together, where it's like, right, Uncle G already knew he was dying, so it wasn't actually Tien's dad who gave, like even though it was, like, technicality, like, he was already in a rough condition, like, there are elements that change things, like, they can move forward with the actual facts, and those facts are being hidden from them. So that's just what makes it so frustrating. So it's going to be interesting to ultimately see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. I doubt this is the last we've seen of Wuji. Like, I mean, he didn't pop up after Queen announced her retirement, but we'll see how this all plays out. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.